Oh, right on time. Oh, I didn't send the announcement. 1 second. Invite to email to Gmail. This is how people log in. I don't know why. It happens every morning. We'll delete this and we'll be good. Hmm. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sorry. 422490. Okay, done. Good morning. Happy Monday, April 14th. Holy cow. Where does time fly? I have no idea. And it's colder than hell outside. I'm freezing. Good morning, Michael. Okay. So, we had a really nice awards event on Friday for the South Shore team. And it was really enlightening to talk to some agents that just are engaged. I mean, if you're doing Centurion level production, you're a top agent, period. Right? Centurion's what, $280,000? Masters is 140,000. So somewhere in that range, you're considered a top agent. But what was impressive to me was the mindset of these agents and the fact that they're plugging into our training, they're plugging into our systems and tools, they're using Zillow Showcase. And I just heard some really positive things that made me feel good, right? Hey, yep, nope, I'll use Zillow Showcase on everything. Really? Why? He says, I'm getting 3% on every listing. That's why we did it. I mean, Jesus, we didn't spend $600,000 or to do that. We did it to give you an enhancement. And if you're not using it, you know, rethink your thought. All right. So what I've done for today, this is real life real estate on Monday. And we have one, two, three, four, five, six things that I'm going to talk about today. Tracy's selling the Florida Keys. Everybody wants to be in the Florida Keys. Are you kidding? Okay. So my first comment is, what's your co-op fee for showings? And I'm going to chew on my words here and just give you some pointers. Right. So our top agents are saying we charge 3%. This is what we do. And they're showing our listing presentation. Kathleen, you raise your hand. You want to say something? Yeah, it's not available everywhere. I can't handle that. Okay. Anyway, so what most agents are telling me is I'm getting 3% on my listing commission. And the seller says, well, I want to pay more than five. Okay. Well, I charge three and we'll offer two to the co-op. This is it's almost like blasphemy to go back on my words from previously because we had to defend the buyer broker compensation, but we don't have to anymore. So we charge three, get your three as a listing agent, and then the buyer is going to have an agreement with us to pay us something. Either they're going to pay us or we're going to ask for it from the seller. Tell the seller, and this is important, tell the seller the buyer's agent may ask for you to contribute to their commission for the buyer. Right? So back to negotiations. So let's say the house is $660,000 and your seller only wants to pay a 1% co-op fee. Think it through. 2% of 600,000 is $12,000. So could you counter? Remember, everything is negotiable. So you could counter at 612 and say, yes, I'll pay your buyer's broker, right? I'm offering one. And then my question to you is going to be, which addendum are you going to use to get the seller to credit more commission than they're offering? Come on, somebody chat it in. Somebody chat it in. Jennifer said getting 3%. You guys are all right in GG. GG works fine. They both work. FF and GG both work, right? What GG does is it makes your offer subject to the seller signing a new agreement, paying you the percentage that's in that agreement. Never in that agreement does it say what it is. FF says, hey, seller, you got to pay me an extra 2% because my buyer wants it, right? So either one works. Don't get confused. Pick whichever one you like. We're good, right? But that's a real life DR. Not sure what that means. Okay, so the most important thing right now is you, as a listing agent, get your 6% commission. Oops. Get your 3% commission. Let the buyer fight for their commission. And then you can counsel the seller, excuse me, to counter to get what he wants. And you have the full right to counsel and negotiate. Different world than we ever saw before, but 100% in the realm of what's happening today. So what I'm finding from the top agents I talked to on Friday is they're all getting 3% on every listing they get. So cool, right? So I'm setting an expectation for you not to cowtail and to get your 3% on your listing side. And then if you happen to double side it, that's a whole nother discussion. You can talk to the buyers, hey, the seller's only offered one, you got to pay me the extra two, or would you like me to ask the seller to pay the extra two? And how many buyers are paying the extra two? Quite a few. Quite a few are actually willing to come out of pocket to do it. So that's super cool. So what's your co-op fee? Question number one. Question number two. This one came up and it was puzzling to me. So open houses. We are putting a major push on open houses because they're kind of the least, they have less objections than anything else, right? And we've got a lot of listings now that we haven't had before, and we want to hold them open. And the more we hold them open with our signs in the yards and our flags in the yards and the stuff we do, we're meeting consumers, and it's kind of a passive way to get business, right? Because a lot of people aren't really aggressively knocking on doors. So open houses are good. But when we do open houses for other broker, this came up twice this weekend. If you're holding an open house for another brokerage, which I don't understand why you would do that, because we have so many listings of our own that you could be showing or holding open. But if you're showing a listing for another broker's open, what do you have to do? Yes, it's definitely a path of least resistance. But if PDQ Realty is offering you to sit in their house, what relationship do you have with that consumer? The answer is none, right? If you sit in a Beggins listing, then Beggins has a relationship with the seller, so you can greet them and not have them sign an agreement. But you're going to have an agreement signed if you're holding an open house with a brokerage that's not us. And I'm not saying not to do it. It's fine. I don't care what you do. But you're going to have to play by the rules, because there are going to be spies out there checking to see what you're doing. Because you can't offer real estate services to a consumer without telling them how they're going to get paid. So once again, we have 3 agreements: the property pre-touring agreement. Actually, we have 4. With the Zillow touring agreement, with the property pre-touring agreement, we have the showing agreement, and then we have the EBBA, right? So when you meet a stranger, it's kind of hard to say, hey, before I can give you any counsel, you need to sign this agreement. And so use the weakest one you can, and then build a relationship with them and then sign it in, right? Get them to sign up something else as you go more. But if you're holding an open house for another brokerage or a builder or somebody that the company does not represent, it's your responsibility to get a VBA signed. So just know that happens. And this is twice this weekend. It came across my desk. So I'll share that. That's question number 2. Oh, what did I say here? Oh, it's just co-op fee. We talked about this already, but so our top agents are using Zillow Showcase to get the seller to pay them a higher commission. And then we push aside the other brokerages and say, hey, what do you want to pay them? I don't care. 1, 2, 3. We used to go 3 and 3, 3 and 3. That's the way it works. No, you can say 3 and 1, 3 and 2, 3 and $100, whatever you want. But I think the most important thing is that we tell the seller, you're probably going to have the buyer's agent asking you to compensate them. So build that into your price, or be prepared to counter at a higher price if you want to pay that commission. And that's it, guys. It's so simple. It's just negotiated. Yeah, your open house signs need to have your picture and info on them. I had one of my generic open house signs stolen. Yeah, that's a good point. And if you're going to pay for open house signs, why not put your name on them? This makes sense to me. All right, so that's number 3. So if you're going to use Zillow, oh, that's terrible, Kathleen. Yeah, well, the sign people, there's county sign inspectors that go around and they will pick up your signs. So a lot of places don't allow signs to be placed, and sometimes that happens. But that's just like an expendable expense. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with this one. This one blows my mind. All right, hold on. I'm going to share my screen. Which screen am I going to share? Because I'll share screen 1. And we're going to go to, this to me is a super ballsy move. Okay. Homes.com sent out an email to you and a lot of our agents that said this week, Zillow's executive, Errol Samuelson, who I know, announced that homes not listed on the MLS within 24 hours of public marketing won't be published on Zillow for the life of the listing. Simply put, if your listing is not on Zillow within 24 hours, Zillow will retaliate against you and your homeowner by turning off your ability to list on Zillow. This is an incredible move of audacity and a pure power play of epic proportion. So let's talk about this. This is the clear cooperation policy that was designed for the brokerage community to fight back against the Zillows and the third-party intermediaries that are taking our listings and selling our leads to their consumers rather than to our listing agents. So that was 100% what they tried to do, right? Okay, we're going to hold off syndication on these listings for a period of time. So the brokerages who took the listing, spent the money, did the promotion, can get the leads that they, quite honestly, deserve. But now, no. Zillow says, oh, 800-pound gorilla, you don't put your shit and syndicate it with us, we're cutting you off. You're not going to be on Zillow altogether. I don't know how long this is going to last or if it's going to stand. There might be some legal things around this, but it just goes on. And then homes.com is claiming themselves to be, we're realtor friendly. We do all this other stuff, but they're a tertiary market. tertiary, third market. So it's Zillow number one, period, 800-pound gorilla. Then you got realtor.com, which is a distant second. And then you got homes.com, which is battling to become a first, a player, but they're a distant third. So this is a crazy, crazy thing that we're going to have to think about, right? So when you're thinking about the clear cooperation policy and not putting your listing on the MLS, you could be off of the Zillow platform forever. And this came from the CEO of homes.com. That one blew my mind. What a ballsy move that was to make them say something like that. So that announcement by Zillow, if you don't have your listing on the listing in 24 hours so we can syndicate it, we're never going to put you back on. So that is something you need to think about and know when your seller says, well, no, I want to do this. Connie, that's the point. The MLS exclusion factor says, Zillow said, we don't give a shit what your MLS says. If it's not on the MLS in 24 hours, we're not going to syndicate you, period. So then you got to tell your seller, you're not going to be on the MLS, on Zillow, rather. When you post online. No, it's when it hits the MLS, Rachel. So if it hits the MLS, because you have photos, don't put photos up. Don't put the listing on the MLS if you don't have photos. Because, as I said, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And once again, that was homes.com making that statement about Zillow. So I'm not sure it's totally true, but I have 3 coaching appointments a week with Zillow, so I'll find out more about that as we go. But that was a shocker to me. Okay, that's number 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5, seller wants to cancel. Now what? Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. A listing is an interest-free loan that you're making to the seller that only gets repaid if the listing sells and you earn a commission. So if a seller gets pissy for whatever reason they do and they want to cancel, we have a cancellation clause built into our contract, which is subject to my approval. I don't have to give them that right, but oftentimes I do because I don't want bad will. But they owe us a cancellation fee, right? Let's face it, you're paying $400 or $500 for photographs, $400 or $500 for a listing showcase token. You're buying some open house flyers or signs or whatever you're doing, your lockbox. It's $1,000 pretty much to get a listing. And for a seller to say, well, I'm pissed because you didn't sell my house on that to that buyer, and they get kind of pissy. So no, we're not going to let them just cancel their agreement. We're going to charge them a cancellation fee, and we're going to use that as leverage to say, hey, it's cheaper for you to stick with me than to pay me a cancellation fee, because when you pay me a cancellation fee, you got to go list with somebody else anyway, and you're going to pay them a commission and me a commission. So yes, we do enforce that. I will back you up 100%. At the same time, if you come to me and say, oh, Craig, it's so sad that he's got cancer, she doesn't know how to handle it, they're just going to stay in the house for a while. Fine, we'll cancel it and give no penalty. And then when we cancel, we have 2 options. We have a conditional withdrawal and we have an unconditional withdrawal. The conditional withdrawal says you're withdrawn. You don't have to pay us. We're not going to market your house anymore, but you're still under contract until the end of your agreement. And if you sell it to anybody, we get paid. And then there's an unconditional withdrawal, which says you can go list with somebody else right now. You know, I'm going to rely on you guys to make that decision on how you want to handle that. Right. So most of the time when a seller gets, I'm sorry, I use this word a lot today, pissy, then screw them. No, we'll withdraw you. but it's conditional. If you're going to go list with somebody else, you're going to owe 2 commissions, dude. So you might as well just stay with us. So that would be a conditional withdrawal. And then you've got an unconditional withdrawal. So when I'm talking to agents this weekend, and there were 2 of these this weekend also, that I want a conditional withdrawal. I support you. So send them a cancellation agreement, charge them the $2,000, and check the conditional box. That's all you got to do. And if they sign it, then they're committed that if that house sells during the term of our listing, they owe us a commission. If you sign the unconditional withdrawal box, then they can go list with somebody else. And hopefully you got your cancellation fee. Right? We had one the other day, $3,000. They changed the price to 3,000 instead of 2. Then the seller paid it. So the agent got paid back for his upfront marketing expenses, and all of your direct expenses are able to be recouped from that seller. So it's a cancellation fee to the brokerage company, which we'll share with you. And then they're also have to pay you for your direct marketing expenses. So pay attention to when you're spending money on a listing. I spent $400 on photos. I spent $400 on a showcase tour. I spent whatever on whatever you did. That's a direct marketing expense that's supposed to reimburse you. Because once again, a listing agreement is a contract. It's a loan that's an interest-free loan that only gets repaid if you're sold. So just know that when you're going into this business, that's part of the game. All right. So twice that happened this weekend. And the last thing I want to talk about today, well, second to last thing, is referral agreements. Please read your referral agreements. Find out what they're doing, because the referral agreements that you're sending or receiving are to the brokerage company, not to you. Right? And if they say does not expire, I won't sign them. I'm fine with a year. I'm fine with 2 years. I prefer 3 or 4 months, because if they're referring us to consumer and that consumer buys, we sell them something, we pay the referral fee, and we're done. If it's for 2 or 3 years or never expires, it's a big problem for a company our size, because that consumer could meet somebody else in the marketplace who happens to work for us and buy something from them because they're a friend and they're a past client referral or whatever. And then the company still owes a referral fee. So just be careful when you're talking about referral fees, and look at the forms. I'll catch them before I sign them, but just before you send them to me, know I'm going to be looking for that. So that's kind of cool. All right. And that is number 6. So this morning we have office hours coming up at 9:45. Kathleen, find out if the original reason for the listing. Yeah. And once again, yeah, we're not being mean here. If they change their mind, but understand, you still expended time and effort and money to market that listing based on the promise of a listing agreement. And if they change their mind, then it costs you money. And if you don't want to get it, fine, I'll approve it. But you have every right to get reimbursed if they change the terms of the agreement. Right? It's like there's a cancellation policy. You book a hotel room and they hold it off the market for you, and then you don't show up, they're going to charge you a cancellation fee because they could have rented that room to somebody else. Same thing for you, right? How is Zillow going to track that? I have no idea. But they got a bunch of people on their staff that'll probably figure it out. Yes, you even rent the post for your yard sign. That's a direct marketing expense that has to go in. So you're entitled to get that reimbursed based on the terms of a listing agreement. Good stuff. Okay, so we got office hours coming up at 9:45, which is in 20 minutes. So please, if you have any questions, you want to discuss any things that are going on, give us a call or log in. That email should probably be in your inbox about now. And other than that, I'm 5 minutes early. Wow. I guess I could have found one more thing to talk about. But it's okay. It's good. Thank you guys. Have enjoyed your cup of coffee in the morning. You ready to start your day? So let's talk about just a couple things real quick. Market good or bad? It's funny, I was talking to an agent on Friday, and she said, she actually said, so I was talking to your dad, and he said, the economy is going to crash. And just so you guys know, my dad's been saying the economy is going to crash for about 15 years now. And at some point, he's going to be right. And this agent, her name was Jackie, said, Jim, you told me like 20 years ago that I make my own economy. So that's my final closing thought to you. You make your own economy. It's the activities you take and that you make, and yeah, what market? It doesn't matter. They all sell, they all do different things, but you make your market. So it's your activities that you put into the business. And today is Monday. So plan out your week and let's go make things happen. Yes, there's a lot of inquiries. Everything's good as long as we believe it's true. Super cool. Thank you, everybody. Happy Monday. See you at office hours at 9:45. My microphone or camera is blocking my button.